Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me okay? Let's make sure it's working. Find me. Can you hear me okay? Right. Okay, good. Yeah, just I thought before I go to bed in like an hour that I'd just do a stream and see if anyone has any questions that they want me to answer. And I had no idea for a YouTube video that before bed, so I just thought I'd do a video. Okay, let's have a look. Heard of bone broth protein. I'm trying it this week for gut health. I remember I went through a phase of looking into all that bone broth stuff when I was really desperate. I personally didn't need it to recover my gut health, and mine was in a state. So I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't think you need it for repairing your gut, but I'm not going to diss it and say that it doesn't do anything. However, I will say that when it comes to gut health, I think the best thing you can possibly do is remove inflammatory foods and probiotics combined together with good rest and getting out of that wired but tired state. That's the best thing you can do for your gut. You don't need bone broth to recover. I know that there are some supplements like gluconate or something that's beneficial to repairing the gut, but I wouldn't say that you need it. I didn't use it personally. Do you listen to Dr. Josh Axe? I think he has some decent information, but he pushes his like everyone, I guess. Everyone has their own kind of thing they believe works. I didn't have to take, like, he pushes the more paleo bone broth way of repairing your gut and getting well, and I'm sure it works for people, but I didn't have to do that. But do I listen to it? I used to listen to some of his advice. He has some decent advice, I think. Thank you, Daniele. Opinions on meditation. It only benefits you in recovery. Anything that gives you better rest is always helpful. Did you take many naps when you were trying to get the best sleep? You know what? I actually had to try and, when I was first trying to sort out my insomnia, I found it incredibly difficult when I wasn't sleeping to not have like little naps during the day. And I found eating every hour or two helped me stay awake to try and get the best sleep the next night. I went through a phase of doing that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I did go through a phase of napping, and I felt, for me personally, I actually felt really depressed and suicidal after I'd have naps. So don't ask me what that is, but I felt awful after naps. My mental state just went downhill. So I tried my best to stay awake to then get to bed as early as possible, 7 o'clock at night. Sometimes I'll go to bed as early as 5 o'clock and then try my best to stay up longer the next day. So I had a sleep routine of about 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then it just gradually went a bit later, but I never went to 10 o'clock. But I felt worse after naps. So I will say that. I'm curious how you find the energy to cook enough to have healthy food 3 times a day. When it comes to cooking, I had a steamer that really helped me, and it would just have different trays, and I just used to chuck in, for example, a whole sweet potato. Didn't when I wasn't feeling to chopping everything or skinning everything, I would just put a sweet potato in there, put different layers of vegetables in the steamer, and just let it cook itself. I tried to keep it as simple as possible. It wasn't like, it's not the most mind-blowing, amazing, tasty food, but I learned to appreciate simple things, put it that way. If you're looking to make some recipes, I never went to the extent of making recipes during recovery, personally. I just had simple things, fruit salads or steamed vegetables with sweet potatoes and beans and stuff like that. I have a few videos on what stuff I made, but it was never complicated. I've speculated on making a kind of like a cookbook simple for recovery thing, because I know a lot of people struggle with that. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to suck it up in terms of not having the most amazing food that you used to, like pizzas and stuff. I just gave it up, really. When I was at my worst, at least. What's the best thing for the maladaptive stress response? I'm guessing you mean why I'm but tired. I personally, things that help me, right? So getting away from stimulating things. So any computer games that made you engaged, or watching shows that made you engaged, or movies that made you engaged. I saw a chiropractor that did my trigger points in my neck and back, which was the biggest relief I got in terms of how I felt in my body not being able to relax. I also meditating, also talking through my problems with I talked to just a counselor, like that really helped as well. Patience, not stressing yourself out if you can't sleep, just things like that, just being kind to yourself. I tried kefir but felt really sick. The first time I had kefir, I had a fever for 3 days and felt pretty shit as well. Sometimes if your gut health is so poor and you've taken too much kefir, you get a die-off of symptoms from the probiotics killing off bad bacteria, which can make you feel dreadful. I had a fever for 3 days. So be careful when you're introducing things like that, because sometimes if you do too much, it can really make you feel dreadful, but it will be okay in the long run. Did you ever go raw vegan? No, but I ate a lot of raw foods. I felt a lot better the more raw I ate. I always had a raw breakfast most of the time. Sometimes I'd have a oat replacement. It was like I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like flakes. It wasn't the nicest tasting thing, but I just went for I tried to get full from foods that were healthy and I knew were not going to cause my gut any problems, rather than just going for taste all the time. Do you still eat mostly vegan? Yeah, I'm vegan 100%. Wondering how to get my DHA EPA from non-animal sources. There's mixed stances on this. Some doctors speculate that we don't really know what role those play yet, but it's better safe than sorry to have DHA and EPA. I personally took a supplement now and again. Like sometimes I forget to take it for a week. I didn't really look too into it. EPA. So there are some supplements that you can take. You just have to make sure you get a good one. I personally was very on and off. What the fuck are people using for bone broth for health? Honestly, I don't know where that came from. It's like, I think it comes from times where people were so they would use everything they had in terms of what, like, not wasting anything, because they weren't as privileged as us, and I think they just shoved everything in a bowl and it would be a broth, and for some reason they think that can heal the gut. I don't know. Have you heard about the bulletproof diet? It eliminate all the foods with toxins on it. Oh, eliminate all the food with toxins. And I spoke to someone who completely recovered from CFS with this diet. The guy that made the bulletproof diet, he talks about having so much energy all the time, but he's on like a narcolepsy drug, and also he's on stimulants. He's also on coffee all the time. I didn't listen to that guy just for those reasons. There's a video on YouTube actually of the bulletproof diet admitting to his drug use that he used during his his daily life. And there's some pretty harsh, strong drugs, and he can't get off them. So I personally didn't listen to him. Love you, Tanner. How much of your recovery was mental, and how much was physical? I think when it comes to someone that's chronically ill, it's mainly physical, and then the mental health aspect comes with how physically drained you feel. You feel like shit, so obviously it's going to affect your mental health. I think that it's both. I don't think you can say that it's just one or the other, because I had that mindset and it really stopped me from recovering for a long time, because I was so adamant that one or the other wouldn't be a role in me recovering. But I think mainly it is physical, and your mental health declines because of your ill health. I'm struggling to get more calories. I eat vegan already. How did you get more calories? Personally, I think that getting more calories, I know I tell people to eat more calories, but I'm talking about a specific group of people that have had a long history of calorie restriction, and they put their image of their body before how well they feel inside themselves, and I think that's very detrimental to recovery. If you're already eating sufficient calories to maintain weight, or you've even gained a bit of weight, I wouldn't worry too much. But obviously high calorie foods, really that's just like fats are the higher calorie foods, like nuts and nut butters and things like that. I'm currently reading Dr. Teitelbaum's book, Fatigued Fantastic. I remember you talking about it in a video. Are there any strategies from the Shine Book you found helpful? Yeah, I picked parts from Dr. Teitelbaum. I didn't pick any of the supplement stuff, even though I bought his multivitamin supplement for like 50 odd quid, and I was trying all his supplements, and at the end of the day he's just trying to make a living. I understand that, and but at the end of the day, the main thing I took from him is adding salt for the adrenals, Himalayan salt. Whether that's true or not, I know that I felt better with it. Also, just resting, understanding your limits, and just reading a book of someone that's been through chronic illness themselves. That was helpful to me. Energy for cooking is tough, especially vegan, gluten-free. Yeah, it is a pain in the ass. If anyone thinks it's hard to go vegan, they have no idea what it's like going gluten-free. Gluten-free is by far the hardest thing I had to give up. No comparisons. I was recently listening to a TED talk of a guy that's had studied into the effects on gluten and how many people are actually intolerant to it. And gluten as a molecule cannot be broken down at all. It cannot be broken down in the gut. What this guy was saying. And he did a case study on 1,000 children, and not one could digest gluten, and they were getting some sort of ill health from gluten. He seems to think that gluten could cause long-term effects to the brain health and everything, even if it's 30, 40, 50 years down the line. Obviously, there's something I've just watched the other day. I can't give you too much detail into that. All I know is I felt a lot better off gluten. I've found using a stool in the kitchen, sit down, saves energy for health cooking. Yeah, of course. I always sat down. I eat gluten-free oats. Should I go off it for a while? I personally couldn't tolerate any oats in the beginning of my recovery, and then moved to gluten-free oats towards the end. I've been following a lot of your recommendations, seeing some improvement. I have a hard time knowing when I should add exercise. If you feel like you are ready for it, if you don't, it's important to listen to your body and not your mind. So if you're going, I should really be adding exercise in right now, and your body feeling a bit tired, a bit weak and everything, listen to your body always, because your brain wants to get recovered and get back into normal life as soon as possible, and that can sometimes lead to a relapse. I found I react to even gluten-free. Yeah, I reacted to gluten-free oats as well for a long time. Tesco's free from hours worth exploring. Some of it maybe, but I know that a lot of it replaces gluten with sugar and like like trans fats and stuff. So be careful. Always read the ingredients. If it has a long, like this is how I went off what I put in my body. If it had a long list of ingredients, I use, especially with like E numbers, even though I know a lot of E numbers are okay, some of them. If it had a long list of ingredients, I try to stay as minimal as possible. Gluten-free products often contain GMO corn, so please keep that in mind. Yeah, I agree. You want to keep an eye out for them sliding in those GMO foods. I saw that you did an interview a while back with a man called Dan Newfer who wrote a book called CFS Unraveled. Did you read his book or take any advice from him? No, I didn't take any advice from him. I only really found out about him after I recovered. I know that we may have different of opinion when it came to the mental side of chronic fatigue. I think he really believed in the lightning process, whereas I think that it may help you recover, but it's not the one-stop cure for everybody. Understanding limits and pacing is so hard too. I get stuck in a cycle of overdoing and then crash. That's why I always think it's best to rest more cases than not most of the time. Can you heal CFS? Yes, of course you can. There's so many people that have. I've been gluten-free for 3 years. Dr. Wise advised it to me when I met him in Belfast. I feel when I got the advice from him, my life changed for the good. Yeah, I don't know anyone that's felt dreadful from going gluten-free. Some people are able to heal their CFS. Yeah, it's a complicated thing, you know. It's like a Rubik's Cube, but a personalized one. So you really have to narrow it down to what works for you. But there are some very common things that help everyone with CFS, and that includes getting rid of dairy, getting rid of gluten, getting rid of junk foods, getting rid of late nights, getting rid of stimulation. All those things are very beneficial to anyone recovering. I would love to see more videos about what you ate. I know a lot of people would like that. What books, podcasts, YouTubers do you recommend for recovery? I liked John Berg. I used to listen to him. I liked Dr. Robert Morse, even though he was, you know, some people may think that he's a bit out there, and I didn't necessarily agree with everything he said, but I just enjoyed him speaking, and it just gave me hope for recovery as well. I listened to a bit of Dr. Axe as well. I didn't take all of his advice, took bits here and there. I used to listen to Teetelbaum. I loved a channel called Arnold's Way. He had just personal accounts of everyone that would come into his like kind of juicing place, and they would tell about how they recovered from all sorts, from cancer, Lyme disease, all these things, and it gave me hope for recovery as well. That was probably my favorite channel because it was first-hand accounts. I think you can't beat first-hand accounts of people recovering. You know, Dr. Axe, all well and good, but I don't know whether he's been through health issues himself. I know that when it came to the Arnold's Way channel, a lot of them, the people that were on there, was to tell you about their journey, whether it was 10 years worth of journey they've been through with their health and coming out the other side. That was what helped me the most. Just knowing that it was possible was really beneficial. Podcasts, I like Sean Stevenson, another one. He was very beneficial, even though I found him later on. Do you remember when and how it happened you were able to pull yourself out of the sympathetic, tired but wired? What did you do to lead up to this point? Oh, just everything I mentioned. It was getting my trigger points, my posture sorted out, my sleep, talking through the emotional side of my life, talking about my past, talking about what I've been through, sorting out my diet. So it was inflammatory food, non-inflammatory foods, all those things. I can't pinpoint one thing that did it for me. It was a combination of things and consistency above all else. At the start, did you get outside in the garden much, or didn't worry? At the start, I took vitamin D supplements, but then in the end, I tried to get out in the first thing in the morning. I felt that was beneficial to me. What foods do you eat now during the day, and what should you eat in the beginning of recovery? I'm already off gluten, dairy, soy, and sugar. I personally liked raw foods in first thing in the morning, especially things like bananas and stuff. Then I later added in oats. During the day, though, whatever I can get my hands on now. I don't have time to dedicate it to recovery the whole time now. Not that I need to, but I just try and get my hands on something that will sustain me. So if I know that I'm going, like tomorrow, I'm going to Optimal Health Clinic to do some EFT course, and I know that I'm going to be there for quite a while. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to eat 1,500 calories to make sure that I'm not going to starve, and take a few snacks. Like there's these little paleo bars you can get that's like cherries, Brazil nuts, and stuff like that, and it's just helpful snacks to have. Have you gone for acupuncture? I heard a few stories of helping people with ME, but I haven't gone for it yet. I did acupuncture, didn't feel anything from it personally. Trigger point therapy was the best one for me, getting rid of the tension in my neck, and it just helped me relax a lot more. I find meditation really helps. Good luck on your recovery. Yeah, it does. Did you ever try D-ribos? Yeah, I spent 40, 50 quid on one of those D-ribos from America. I wouldn't bother, personally. Has your hair fully grown back while being gluten-free diet? My hair has actually grown back quite a bit, and I think that's something I know. I never thought. I thought I was going to shave my head for the rest of my life. Honestly, I thought that it'd been done. You know, there's a bit of thinning still. Like you can't really see it that much, but like this is under the light as well. So when I go about my normal life, like you can't really tell that I've had thinning hair. I bit on my crown, but I never thought that my hair, it has grown thicker in the past year. It has. Did you find that you could avoid relapses based on how much activity you did during the day? I was very careful with any kind of exercise. You know, the times when I felt like my body was starting to get okay, I would still hold off on exercise and just try and do simple things. I would never use my energy up. I'd try and conserve it as much as possible. I never went near the line of thinking that I could possibly relapse, and I think that's what really helped me. And I think people try and like toy on the line a bit too much. I think it's better safe than sorry a lot of time. When you get to the point where you have pent up energy, then use it. But of course, you have to really kind of go off how you're feeling. Yeah, it is awesome. I don't think I'd go back to shaving my head again until I really need to. Did you find showers exhausting? I think it's the heat. Yeah, I did find like I said in my earlier videos, I used to love hot baths every day or every other day. And at some point I stopped having them because they were exhausting, but it gave me a good night's sleep, which I really needed when I was recovering from insomnia. I needed anything that was going to help me try and get a few hours of sleep, and that's what helped me. And it was a mental release for me because it was very relaxing for me. But different people like different things. What should I do if docs don't think I have CFS? Don't bother. Doctors, like, pardon my language, but they are useless when it comes to this kind of thing. You're on your own. I went to the doctor the first time I went to the doctor was probably 14, saying I'm tired all the time, and they don't really help at all. It's a journey that you have to discover yourself and fix yourself. There's no one that's really going to help. I mean, there might be some naturopaths or something that you can spend money on, and that would be really helpful. But generally, I would say it's something that I had to do myself. Did you have any trouble with sleep apnea? I had trouble with blocked nose. I don't know whether that's what you mean, sleep apnea, but I used to have always one side blocked and sometimes both sides blocked. I don't know at what point that went away, but I know it was something to do with my diet. Whether it was dairy and gluten, I'm not sure. So useless. Mine just told me to go to the library and read about CBT. Yeah, a lot of them will direct you in the phase of you're depressed, have an antidepressant, go and read CBT books or go to a CBT therapist and sort your problems out mentally. Do you get tired at all now? I mean, I will say this is that I had glandular fever in December, and I was tired. I was tired quite often for a good 3, 4, 5 months, just overcoming glandular fever again. At the time, I was shitting myself. I thought I'd fully relapsed, but generally, day to day, no, I don't. Unless for example, I went on holiday a month ago, and the food was so bad for a gluten-free vegan that I ended up eating gluten. I had a few alcoholic drinks. I was going to bed late, and I started feeling tired. Yes, I did. But within a week of coming home and back to my new routine, I was back to normal. Some people think that when you do add exercise to add strength instead of walking. Some people think that when you do add exercise to add strength instead of walking. I'm not sure what you mean, Kathy. Are you saying that strength training instead of walking? I personally added in walking for 3, 4, 5 months before I started adding. Actually, maybe it was 3 months. I did 3 months of walking gradually until I started strength training. I never added running in. I don't recommend running for anyone recovering from glandular fever, SCFS, ME, all those things for at least a good year, year and a half after recovery, just to play it safe. So running's very strenuous on the body. I had glandular fever 15 years ago, though. Only had CFS 3 years. Yeah, a lot of people come with CFS and ME after having glandular fever. Luckily, I bounced back pretty quickly. I think it's because I have a lot more knowledge now of what it means for my body to be healthy and what it needs. Do you still eat the way you ate during recovery? Gluten-free vegan, yes, but I do eat junk food and stuff now. Like I eat crisps and stuff, and if I want. But generally, I try to stick to gluten-free vegan as much as possible. I slip up on the gluten part, not the vegan part. Becky, I'm in the same boat. Yeah, a lot of people have glandular fever. I'll have an early night tonight. How did your CFS start? The first point that I can remember is I was playing rugby when I was 13, 14, and all of a sudden we were walking on the pitch, and I felt like we'd already done the rugby game. I was so knackered. I felt like I had an instant flu, and from that day on, I just get tireder and tireder. New symptoms started cropping up. I was stressed at the time, like I was a bit depressed and stuff. I had acne. I was taking antibiotics for acne. I had the tuberculosis jab. I went on holiday, and I sort of like I was swimming around the boats, and I got a back full of acne. Took antibiotics. There was a huge amalgam of things that all came together for me to finally crash. I don't know what finally did it, but I know that all those things played a role. How many grams of fat do you eat per day? Sometimes I eat loads of fat. Sometimes I eat mostly carbs, but I don't really count anymore. I just eat anything that's within my gluten-free vegan diet. I don't try to restrict any more than that. Obviously, I try and avoid as much oils as possible. Are you an enemy of coconut oil? No, I have coconut oil. I think it's the best oil out of any of them, but still, I would recommend refraining from refined products as much as possible when you're recovering. You have to be really more careful. Now, like the other day, I cooked some banana blueberry pancakes in coconut oil. I don't have to think too much about it now. But recovery, I did have coconut oil when I was trying to sort out. I came from a history of having a lot of olive oil, and I know that the omega-6 to 3 ratio is so atrocious in all oils generally, apart from coconut oil. So I avoided oils as much as possible, but now I don't have to worry too much. Do you think it's possible to recover within a few years? A lot of people have it for over a couple of years. I've had it for a year and a half. I had chronic fatigue from 2007 to 2015. Ish. I recovered late 2014, I think. Or early 2015. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, when I really dedicated my every action to recovery, I recovered within a year. And the I think the shorter you've been ill, the better chance you have at recovering sooner. Yeah, seems common. I could have very mild CFS all along. Starting having children 4 years ago finally made me proper fatigued. I can imagine sleep deprivation from having children's. Yeah, that would make sense. So if you're already ill and then you're getting sleep deprived from kids, I can hold my hands up. I cannot give you advice. I mean, following my advice may help, but with kids, that's a whole new ball game. It's hard to get time for yourself, I'm imagining. Any tips on shutting everything off to get rest? Did you gradually shut everything off, or did you go cold turkey? I went cold turkey off games and anything that was very engaging, like for example, horror movies. I went cold turkey of horror movies, but I did watch things like Family Guy and The Office because they were lighthearted, didn't engage me. If anything, they made me laugh, and I felt like that helped. If anything, when I was going through such a depressing time, so you really have to go off how you're feeling. So I didn't go cold turkey completely off technology, but I did have a rule where I didn't allow myself on technology until 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I felt worse if I went on it in the morning. What do you think of taking melatonin for sleep? When you take melatonin and you stop your body's production of melatonin, so it's not a long-term solution. I think you need to sort out your sleep naturally. So I don't recommend anything to aid your sleep really, because you should be able to sleep normally without anything. So who I advise you go and look at is Sean Stevenson, because he knows the most about sleep. Love your channel. Do you have a morning routine? What does the first hour of your day like? I feel best when I stay off technology first thing in the morning and have lots of water before I eat and get some sunlight. That's when I feel best. Are you planning on going into a healthcare career at all? You'd be amazing at it. I'm doing this thing at the Optimum Health Clinic tomorrow where I'm gonna start learning more about psychology and how to help people deal with psychological traumas and stuff like that. So it may come in handy, but the more I'm doing my YouTube channel, the more I hate the idea of going to a profession of it, because if I say I went into to be a dietitian in the NHS, you have to follow their guidelines, and their guidelines are so medieval. Like, they still advise you having 4 servings of dairy a day or something for calcium. Like, me getting off dairy was like huge. Like, that stuff was dreadful for me. Did you ever deal with stress? How did you deal with stress? Yes, I dealt with a lot of stress, especially in my family life. And the only way I was able to recover is from staying to myself and avoiding other people's stress. Just focusing on me and me alone. You have to get selfish during recovery. And that's why I can't really give advice to Becky Kemp, because with kids, you can't really afford to be selfish. Is it normal that it comes from one day to the other? I just had a cold the one day and then I woke up the other day and everything was messed up until now. Not really sure what you mean, hello you. What I will say is recovery is not linear. Things change. Oh, I'm getting tired. Almost my bedtime. I tend to use audiobooks that are relaxing as my rest time. Should I have some time when I listen to nothing? Try it. I did. I used to, in the early days when I had insomnia, I used to go outside if I really couldn't sleep. Just chilled out, realized that I couldn't sleep. I can't change that right now. And I would put on a big jacket and sit outside and just look at the stars and stuff. And that was very relaxing to me. That was my routine for a while. I worked 40-hour weeks while I had glandular fever. The result had CFS. Yeah. This is what many people do, and I did as why I was ill for so long, is because I didn't listen to my body in the beginning. I thought that, You just push through these kind of things. That's what you did. And I paid the price by losing half my teen years. But what can you do? Educate others. Hopefully they avoid the same mistakes. I work 40-hour weeks with glandular. That's a recipe for disaster, Emma. It really is. Uh-huh. Did you gain a lot of weight while you were ill? No, but yes. When I was recovering, I gained weight, and that was my intention after reading. Like I had a video on it a while back. I'll take a few more questions. I'll probably go to bed. It's 9:15 now. I need my early night. I've had a video of it before, but the Starvation Project, they looked at the effects that low calories over a long period of time had on people's metabolism and how their body operated, and even like what is it called, ATP, and all those things that regulate your energy, and the effects that long-term calorie restriction, even if you're not really skinny, just calorie restriction, where, for example, I would have one meal a day when I was really ill because I didn't have the energy to do anything else. And it usually was gluten and dairy in the same meal. And I just had two looks. This is how I looked at it. I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I could get fat and listen to the advice of this starvation experiment that they did on soldiers. And what am I going to lose? I'm going to look fat. I'm going to look like shit. But at the end of the day, I'm caring about how I feel right now. Like, I'm not going to look at my external and go off that, because at the end of the day, what do I want to fix? I want to not feel like shit. So I put on weight for that reason. And the other reason was when I gave up gluten and dairy and stuff, I found it very hard to be satiated in the beginning. And I think that was because of leaky gut. That's me speculating. So I used to really, really fill up on foods that I could eat so that I wouldn't have those cravings for the foods I was missing in the early days. So I did gain weight. And it paid off for me, I did get energy. And that's why I say to people, maybe something you want to look at. You really have to want recovery, because I look like shit. You can see my video. I really put on weight and I look like shit. I looked ill and then I was fat on top of that. But yeah, I did gain weight. I was also inactive, of course. I mean, I was ill, not very hard, just a cold. Then the other day when I woke up, I had to see if, yeah, it's normal. You go ups and downs, you have to just look at your lifestyle and really change that. I have had times when I get upset at friends that haven't visited. Did you get that way? No, I was quite the opposite. I actually prefer being away from everybody because no one really understood what I was going through, and it made me drained interacting with anyone. Do you think organic corn polenta can have the same effect as gluten? Did you have this? No, I don't think it can, because it doesn't contain gluten. I personally actually did have polenta during recovery. You know, I know a lot of people say don't have corn, but I was okay on it now and again. I had organic corn, didn't have GMO corn. I felt better on corn actually than I did gluten-free oats in the beginning. Friends you have now, do they know everything you have been through? Yeah. hmm And the other things that I don't like to mention on my YouTube channel that were to do with family life and everything. But that was really didn't help. Those the insane amount of stress that I had in my family life added to my symptoms. I started gaining a lot more severe symptoms over the years. After that was a problem. Liver corn is an inflammatory food, so it can be a problem for some. Yeah, some corn. Yeah, some people can't tolerate corn. You have to go off what you feel. No need to answer this, but as you recovered, did your libido go back to what it was considered normal? The thing is, I don't talk about this very often, but I know that my libido was messed up for a variety of reasons, and I did no fap, and it was that was in to getting my libido and everything back to how it would have been if I'd never been exposed to those things. If you know about that subject, but yeah, my libido went back to normal. I wouldn't worry about it. You have to understand is that When you feel like shit, why would you have a libido? It's the last thing on your mind. But I do recommend no fap during recovery, for guys at least. Were you able to tolerate alcohol in small amounts during recovery? I guess water kefir has like 0.1%. But no, I didn't touch any kind of alcohol, and I still don't recommend it. Do you think it was helpful that you had a grandma visit you every day? What would you be done instead? Yeah, I do. Like it would be something at least to do. You know, she would just go on story after story, and I'd just listen there with my eyes shut on the couch, and it was just something to do until 1, 2 o'clock, where I'd maybe watch a Family Guy episode or something like that. Could you have managed staying sane being alone 24? Yeah, I could. I actually I felt a lot better being alone, because when I used to have interactions with people, it'd be really draining for me. You know, everyone's different. I just had enough of people just not understanding and not, um, you know, because I didn't have a diagnosis of cancer, it wasn't serious, and it was all in my head. You know, a lot of people told me it was all in my head for those years, and I listened, and that's why I was ill for so long, because I pushed myself, and it always came back to bite me in the ass. Um, I'm like that now, so yeah, made me feel very unwell. I also, yeah, so I've given up on socializing at all until I'm recovered. That's how I did it, Sarah. Did you have panic attacks in the beginning when I was before I fully crashed? Yeah, I started getting panic attacks out of nowhere, and that's when I knew something was really wrong, because I didn't have panic attacks throughout school. I love socializing, and then all of a sudden I was getting panic attacks from just being in a crowded room or things like that. My body just started just deteriorating. Yeah, Kathy, that's why I made this channel, actually. Just so you realize that you can recover. Mhm. What I will say now is I'm just turning my screen down to, it has a mode called entertain mode where it dims the screen. I'm just doing that now, so my eyes, this is what I do usually before bed, is just dim all the lights on the screen if I'm still up, which I shouldn't be, but I am. When you were getting better, did you feel weird looking back? When I look back at brain fog, especially that I feel weird now, I'm getting better, especially that other people didn't realize it. Yeah, like the changes were so gradual for me. You know, it's over a year that it took me to have a relapse after eating gluten after 3 months or so into recovery to understand how far I'd come. So it was so minimal. Supplements, yes or no? Depends. Like I personally took vitamin D when it was in the winter months. I took a DHA EPA on and off. Didn't really do it religiously. I took a B12, even though I will say this, I don't know what it is with B12, but I will say this: before I had B12 supplements, my B12 was nearly 1,000 on when I had a test out the national average, really high B12 levels, and my B12 levels kept declining when I was having B12. I will say this is that when I had that kefir when I had that test of 1,000, I was having a liter of kefir a day, and that's, of course, it has a lot of bacteria and stuff in it. So I'm speculating whether that helped create B12, but I can't be so sure. I think that the whole libido thing, society tells us that we need to feel something completely different to do what is intended by it. Margarita, yeah, I've been talking about this. Has been a big topic for me recently. Just deconstructing what it is. When you're a guy, yeah. When I was growing up in primary school, you kind of get this feeling implanted on you as a guy that you must want it all the time, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you. Or I remember this one thing we were told in school, that science says that men think about sex every 10 seconds, and these little things just play like they get ingrained in you at such a young age that I would go periods of doing nofap and freak out because I'm not feeling any sexual urges, and I would think there was something wrong with me. I'd get my testosterone checked and it was completely fine. And I've just been going through this process over the last year of deconstructing what I've been told is true. And it's quite scary knowing that a lot of things I grew up knowing are a complete fucking lie. And this is one thing I've been speculating. This ain't to do with health or anything, but this is how I see it. When it comes to gender and socializing, insane and causes so many, that's something I'm learning more and more every day, and it's depressing. Like, it really is depressing. I can't say anything else than that. I'm still going through it. I'm still trying to get to where I would have been if I'd never been in society, kind of thing, if you know what I mean. Just going with how I would have been if I'd never been affected. Did you believe doctors helped you in any way during recovery? No. Not mainstream doctors anyway, because a lot of them added to my problems, giving me vaccines when my immune system was just rock bottom, having antibiotics for acne, just all those things really added to me getting ill. Never helped me. Also, they gave me Zopiclone for insomnia. Yeah, it made me sleep for 5 or 6 hours, but it didn't fix the problem. It actually made the problem worse. I had to wean myself off them. So, mainstream doctors, it's good in an emergency, but for these kind of health problems, I don't agree. Yeah, they don't combine very well. Thoughts on high vitamin C? All the better if you're having it through fruits. I'd be careful though when it comes to like ascorbic acid and stuff, because I'd rather have it from its natural. Did NoFap help your symptoms, or was it only a personal endeavor? Both, because it's stimulating. For example, when you're in that wide but tired state and you're having adrenal issues, it's just not assisting you in feeling rested. Obviously, I wasn't a saint and was religious, was able to do it throughout my recovery, but I did manage to do long stints of NoFap that really helped me calm down. Did you use magnesium? Yeah, I use magnesium in my baths. I think that was helpful, but some people get quite wired off it. So it's always comes down to a personal thing. I don't think a bit of magnesium in the bath is going to make you feel dreadful. Hey, James, do you think it's crucial to get away from toxic people in order to recover? Yeah, I do. Toxic people just keep you where you are a lot of the time. They keep you engaged in something you don't want to be engaged in. What were the most important factors in you recovering from social anxiety? Healing my body. Like, when I didn't feel like shit, I just wasn't an anxious mess. A lot of people, they feel extreme social anxiety. Now, anxiety is something that everyone has normally. You get a bit anxious. You go in somewhere you haven't been before. You do something you're about to do you haven't done before, I mean. of course you're going to feel some anxiety, but when it's overblown to the point where you're feeling panicky or things like that, there's something going wrong. Whether that's an emotional issue or your body's under stress, you're not eating many calories. I will say this, when I was under eating and I wasn't eating many calories, I would get stressed much quicker. And I can say that today. If I am in a stressful situation, I've not eaten during the day, I will feel much more stressed and unable to deal with the stress. I think when I had a full tummy, I was able to deal with my situation a lot better during when I was ill. I'm trying to get back to basics: good rest, good sleep, good food. Is there anyone that's had early nights, good food, and good sleep and gone, I relapsed? No. It's just beneficial to everyone. Does brain fog ever go away? That makes me feel so depressed. I can't cope with this depression either. Yeah, it does go away. Don't read those forums. They love telling each other how ill they are and how it's never gonna get better, and they just love it. I don't understand. There's no hope in those forums. Don't listen to them. Listen to personal accounts of people on YouTube that are recovered. Keep your hopes up. That's what I'd say. From my experience, I used to watch those forums all the time. I'm 15 now, and it feels like my life is flying away. I wish I was 15 when I first started looking into getting healthy, because I was 24 when I really put my foot down. So, mate, you are in the best position. Don't worry about it. Just make sure you put your foot down now, otherwise it will continue and get worse. My biggest battle with sleep is my pain. How to deal with this? I used to, in the beginning, when I had sore joints and stuff like that, hot baths before bed with magnesium helped me. Also, just having a non-inflammatory diet also helps in the long run. Do you feel really achy from resting lots? What, when I was ill? The thing is, I felt achy either way. That's the problem. My brain fog is so much better. Should you accept social anxiety or force it yourself to expose your fears? I think another thing that helped me as well when I started to have a little bit of social anxiety is, even though I had a little bit left, not like I did when I was ill. Like when I was ill, I had a social anxiety to the point where if the doorbell went, I was like a panicky mess. Now I don't really give a shit. The other thing I also realized is that most people are like insecure, that they're thinking about themselves and not you. Like I used to be insecure about what other people thought of me, and now I just look at it as if most people are so caught up in their own shit that they're probably not thinking about me. And that's how I walk around in my life now. What does it do really if someone's thinking bad of me? It doesn't really change anything for me, does it? I think I got to this mindset through a lot of tribulation, I guess. It's something you just develop over time if you're really dedicated to getting to the other side. Gluten gave me brain fog as well. Did you have screens drain your energy? Yes, they did. Yes, it made me tired, Richard. It still does. Like now, if I wake up and sit on the computer for 3 hours, I'm not as energetic as I would have been if I didn't do that. There are articles and stuff on that you can. I'll have to talk about in another video. I'll go to bed now though. Emma, how long did it take you to cut out for? Anyway, I'll go to bed now. No, I hated ASMR. I don't know what the fuss is about. I hate that. Those little sounds make me go. I like think. I tell you what, I did listen to though. Rainforest like sounds, like rain and stuff. Like things like cats purring and stuff. I found that relaxing. Yeah, every time I go back to gluten, even now, I know about it. It usually manifests itself in joint pain rather than tiredness, actually. But it's always my joints first. Anyway.